All right, let's get into it. If you've ever looked at Python code, one of the very first things that jumps out at you is, well, it's a little strange. It's how it uses indentation to structure absolutely everything.
It's a fantastic question, and honestly, it's something that trips up a lot of people, especially if you're coming from other programming languages. Because when you first look at Python, what's really striking is what isn't there.
For starters, there are no curly braces anywhere. If you're used to languages like JavaScript or C++, that just feels wrong, like a key piece of the puzzle is missing.
And it doesn't stop there. There are also no begin or end keywords. None of those words that other languages use to explicitly say, hey, this is where a block of logic starts and this is where it stops.
Instead, Python relies on something much, much simpler: empty space. And look, at first that can feel really weird, maybe even a little fragile, but it turns out this is one of Python's most powerful and really most deliberate design choices.
To really get why Python went this way, we first have to understand the system it was trying to fix. We need to talk about the problem with braces.
So in most of the world's most popular languages, curly braces are king. It's simple, right? You write a statement, you pop open a brace, you put all your code inside, and then you close the brace. It's a very clear signal to the computer where a block starts and ends. But there's a catch.
And this slide right here perfectly illustrates the core issue. The machine, the computer, it can read that code perfectly, even if it's a complete visual mess. It doesn't care. But for us humans, it's a completely different story. We rely on clean formatting to follow the logic, and when the code gets messy, we get confused, and we make mistakes. This is exactly where Python's creator Guido van Rossum came in, with a totally different philosophy. His belief was incredibly simple. Code is read far more often than it's written, so we should be optimizing for the human reader first and foremost.
This idea is baked right into the DNA of the language, in its guiding principles, which are called the Zen of Python. And right there near the top is this one simple line: readability counts. It's not just a nice suggestion, it's a core value.
So here's the crucial point. Guido didn't just want to encourage developers to write clean code. He wanted to build a language where you have no other choice, a language that actually forces you to be clear.
And this brings us to a really fundamental shift in how you can design a programming language, turning what is normally just a stylistic choice into a mandatory rule of the language.
In most languages, how you indent your code is a matter of style. You do it to make the code look nice, but the program will run just fine, even if it's hideous. In Python, indentation is syntax. It is a hard and fast rule. If your indentation is wrong, your program just will not run, period.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's beautifully simple. First, you write a statement that ends with a colon, like an if condition. Second, you just indent, usually with 4 spaces, and that starts the code block. Third, all the code you write at that same indented level belongs to that block. And finally, to end the block, you just stop indenting. That's it.
And the result of this is actually really profound. All that extra visual noise, the curly braces, the closing keywords, it all just disappears. You're left with code that looks incredibly clean, almost like a structured outline in a document. The layout of the code is the logic.
Now, this isn't just about making things look pretty. This design choice has a massive, practical impact on literally everyone who touches the code.
For starters, this makes Python unbelievably approachable for beginners because what you see is what you get. But it's also a huge win for professional teams. When everybody's code is formatted the exact same way, collaboration gets so much simpler, and keeping a big project going over time becomes far more manageable.
And this ties into another one of those core principles from the Zen of Python. By making indentation a rule, Python pretty much ensures there is only one clear, obvious way to structure your code blocks. You can't have 5 different brace styles fighting each other on one team. Everyone's code naturally looks consistent.
And that consistency is a superpower. It makes code reviews way faster, it helps new developers on a team get up to speed quickly, and it even gets rid of a whole category of bugs that come from things like mismatched braces or just confusing code structure.
So, when you kind of zoom out and look at the big picture, you realize that Python's use of indentation isn't just some quirky feature. It's a statement. It's a philosophy of human-centered design built right into the language itself.
Most languages tend to prioritize what's convenient for the machine, allowing code that works, sure, but can be a nightmare for people to read.
Python makes a different trade-off. It says no, human understanding is more important, and it enforces rules to make sure that priority is always met.
So the next time you see that clean, indented Python code, just remember that it wasn't an accident and it wasn't a shortcut. It was a bold, deliberate choice that completely reimagined the relationship between the programmer and the computer, and in doing so, it changed how millions of us think about and write code.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Python decided to prioritize the human reader over the machine. So what else in technology could really benefit from being completely redesigned with humans, not machines, at its very core?